Spring has finally sprung here in New York City. I'm sitting in the park amongst the trees that are finally green and all the birds that are tweeting and chirping and hopefully not crapping on my head as I speak. But as the year is renewed, so too is the gaming world renewed with new players coming in and new GMs getting ready to step into the GM seat. And the question arises, I see it on Reddit all the time, questions of what do I need, what do I do, what are the best resources, any kind of help. And those questions are way too broad to answer in one video or in one Reddit reply. There's no single pithy sort of response that I could give you that would encapsulate everything that you could possibly need. You're going to run into tons of different situations. You're going to run into all kinds of different difficulties, and a lot of those are going to be personal. Some people are very good at certain aspects of running the game, whether it's the world-building elements or whether it's the improv or just being a people person and talking and dealing with players. Some people are going to be better at the prep and coming up with the details, and some people are going to need that details and prep to be able to sit in the chair and play. Other people are going to find all that prep too much of a straitjacket. And there are millions of ways to do it. There are a million different ways to play, and the only way you're going to know what approach works for you is to do it. So the first thing is you just have to do it. Don't think you need some kind of background. Don't think you need to play for 6 months in order to GM, or you need to have done modules before you do your own homebrew. Do whatever you want to do. Whatever excites you, whatever gives you enthusiasm to play and run the game, do that. You're going to hear lots of things. Some people will say, oh, you need to run modules first. You don't. Oh, you should do this first. You don't. Back in the day, long ago when I was learning, there wasn't this great community around. I remember being in grade school, and maybe you see some older kids who were playing the game, but we were too young. We weren't going to be welcome at that kind of setup. So someone just gets a hold of the rules and they just decide to play. And the games are goofy and they're going to be bad and you're going to make all kinds of mistakes. But that's okay, because everybody makes mistakes. Whether it's whichever GM, if you watch any of the streams or following the videos, all these great GMs, they all make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes too. Starting out, you're going to make many more mistakes than they do. But the key is not to not make mistakes. It's to recover from them, move on. Don't let your game be defined by mistakes. Let them be defined by how you recover from them and how you learn from them, so that you hopefully don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again. There are plenty of great free resources online. You don't need to delve into the kind of shady world. I would say really please don't pirate stuff. There's a lot of great things that are out there freely available, and I think it undermines that if you go and you just decide to grab free full versions of the books because you were able to search for them somewhere. So please support the people who make all this community and the games possible. As I said, there's tons of free resources. You can go onto Wizard's site and get a free basic copy of the rules for 5th edition. If that's what you want to play. I think Paizo for Pathfinder also has free versions of the rules available. There's tons of online versions of these basic rules that are totally free and legal. So avail yourselves of them, certainly if you want to read up on it. And it's a way for you to basically window shop which game you want to play. If you're not sure whether 5th edition is for you or one of the other games, oftentimes you can see those basic rules, read them, see if the mechanics work for you, if you like what kind of features they have, or you can choose that way. If you decide on something like 5th edition, again, you can go to Wizards, get those basic rules, download them, read them through, and become comfortable with them. If you look at the books, or you go to your local gaming store or Amazon, the core books can be quite expensive. And I would say, unless you're super sure of everything, don't buy those books to start out. Speaking of 5th edition, I don't know enough about what Pathfinder has available, but the best single purchase you can make, if you're going to purchase anything, is the starter kit. So the starter kit has a set of the basic rules, and they don't have everything that the full rules will have, but you don't need everything the full rules will have right away. It has everything that you need, including dice, and including a fairly well-regarded adventure called Lost Mines of Phandelver. If you need something to start out, if you don't want to jump right in your own homebrew, even if you are going to jump right into your own homebrew, reading through an adventure just to see how people do things, see what decisions are made, see how they run encounters. It's not all perfect, and Lost Mines is certainly not a perfect adventure, but the couple of things that it's going for it is pretty good. I think most people will say that it's one of the better adventures. It's not super long. It is a starter. So it is meant to get your party through an initial adventure, get them from 1st level to maybe 3rd level, and then it has lots of ways that you can then open that into different campaigns in your own world, in other adventure books that they run. So it's very sort of open-ended like that, and it's written for new players and new dungeon masters. It's also very well supported online because tons of people have played it, tons of people have talked about it. If you also have questions about running it, or your players playing through it, there's a lot of support out there that's built in for Lost Mines that there might not be for other material. And certainly it can be difficult when you're doing your own homebrew stuff and you have questions. The answers are harder to get without lots of information, because it's, we as other GMs out there, players out there, don't know everything that's going into it. If you have something like Lost Mines and you're running into an issue in a certain encounter or want to know what people have done there, you're going to find lots of people who've played it one way or another, so that support's there. Other than that, I think really the things you need are enthusiasm and patience and just a willingness to just try it. Enthusiasm, obviously, because the more excited you are to do it, it's easier to get other people excited to play with you. If you're not excited about it, you're not going to get anybody else excited about it. As the GM, it's sort of up to you to be the cheerleader, to be the person who is really advocating for the game. The more that you want to play, the more that you can do that advocate it in a way that is appealing, the more likely you are to be able to get a table together and, maintain that table. And then patience, because like I said, you're going to make mistakes, your players are going to make mistakes, you're going to run into things that in adventures, whether they're your own or others, that you forget, the authors forget, weird gray areas, all these kind of things you have to work through. The rules aren't perfect either. You're going to find things in there that you're going to want to house rule, or you're going to need to make decisions on, and you're going to have to work through lots of stuff, and that involves a lot of patience. And then really the biggest thing is that willingness to just try it, to just jump into the water and see how it is, because you may be in a situation where you don't have existing groups around there where you can kind of step in and be in the background. You may be in a situation where you're getting together a totally fresh set of players to play, and so there is no one to naturally GM. You may be the person that everyone else thinks should be the natural GM. So somebody has to do it. It might as well be you. So just have that willingness to do it. I guess if you're watching videos like this, then you probably already have that willingness. And you just have to maintain it, because it's not going to be easy. You are going to make mistakes. You may have issues with players that may come up. I would just make it aside. It's obviously the more you can play with friends as opposed to strangers, the better, since you're going to know your friends better and all this stuff. But not everybody is going to be suitable for a game, or not everybody's going to be suitable for your game. It's going to be something that you're going to have to develop, but you're going to develop a taste.
Well, I don't like falafel.
For what you like, what kind of games you want, how you want the games to go. As much as you can communicate that ahead of time, if you already have very firmly embedded ideas of what kind of game you want, make sure you pitch that to your players right away, so that you can get everyone. A big thing is getting everyone's expectations in line. So the quicker you learn that particular lesson, and you can learn what your expectations are and what you want, and you can communicate them, the better off you'll be. But really the point I was trying to make here is that not every friend is going to be a great game friend, and not every game friend is going to fit the kind of game that you want to play. You want to try to keep things on the level as much as you can. Try not to let your friendships become too entwined with how everything's going in the game, because you may have a great friend of yours, but they're not a great friend for the game. Either they just don't play the game that you want to play, they don't like to play the game at all. So you have these friends, you're going to have to learn how to navigate that, your friends and the game. And certainly when you meet other people who are not your friends, and then you're trying to figure out if they're a match for your game, that's also going to be something. But definitely a skill to work on is how you can navigate speaking to people, talking to people about your game, being able to be flexible, but also being able to be, if you know that, hey, this person's not a great fit after a session or two, it may be time to cut bait with that person. How do you do that in a way that if they are friends of yours, sort of preserves that friendship? Because, there are some friends who say, hey, these are all my friends, but there are 3 of them that I'd love to go camping with. These other 3, not so much, but maybe those 3 I'd want to go to a concert with, and those wouldn't be the same 3 people as I go camping with. And we understand that, but it can feel very personal. It can feel very emotional if you're saying to somebody, hey, I don't want to play this game with you anymore, or you're not a good fit. But it's going to be something that you're going to have to address probably at some point or another. So developing that skill, or being able to approach it from your friends saying, hey, this is kind of an experiment, however it is to get to that point where you can, hopefully it won't happen, hopefully all your friends that you choose to play, they want to play, and you guys are on the same page. Just be prepared that if you're not on the same page, you have to be able to deal with that, and obviously you have to deal with it as an adult. And then finally, maybe the last thing I would say is, you're not going to know all this stuff when you're starting out. You're going to have to play with people to figure out how they play. And some people are going to be murder hobos off the bat, where they just want to kill stuff. Some people are just going to want to basically wreak havoc in the world in other ways, just because they can. Some people are going to look at everything that you want to do, every sort of avenue you lay out for adventure, and they're just going to ignore it just because. You're just going to have to figure all that out and learn it. And there's no real shortcut to doing it. You just kind of have to figure it out. And the more you play, the more you may become more adept at spotting those people quicker. But once you've kind of spotted it and you figured out, you have to talk to them outside the game. If somebody is playing a murder hobo and your game is totally not about murder hoboing, you can't try to fix it in-game. You have to deal with that person out of the game. So I guess similar to having to deal with the fact that not everyone's going to be suitable for your table and how you address that, you're going to have to be comfortable or learn to become comfortable addressing people about their things outside the game. And I think I'm going to make a whole video about this whole dealing with, I want to call them problem players, but basically when their issues arise between the player and the GM or two players, maybe a symptom is what's happening in the game, but ultimately you have to deal with it outside the game. You can't take a player who's operating their characters in a certain way and then try to fix it in game with punishing their character, doing something to their character. That's not going to solve your issue. You're going to have to deal with the player, but that's a video for another day. I want to encourage everybody, if you want to GM, please GM. Don't feel like there are really any barriers, because there's not. The only thing you need is paper, pencil, some dice, and even a lot of that can be figured, you know, in the digital age, even that can be done without, if you have a laptop or a cell phone or pretty much any kind of digital device. Just, you know, be enthusiastic, be unafraid to sort of take chances and fail. Be that person who is willing to be, in a sense, courageous, because you're going to be taking chances. You as the GM are going to put yourself open and at risk in a way that the players aren't really going to do. Just be ready to do that, be okay with it, and embrace it, because I think in many ways GMing is much more fulfilling in different ways than you can really get it as a player. But you're going to have to work for that and understand that you're going to have to work for it. And then if you feel like you need to pick something up, like I said, pick up the starter kit. Is by far the best bang for your buck. It's cheaper by at least $10, I think, than any of the starter books, maybe more than. I think it might even be less than half of what the other books are. It gives you everything that you'll need to start off, and then if you really get the bug and you really want to get more books and you really want to get more material, then go ahead and look at the other core books. But that's all you need. Don't be intimidated. You know, the water's fine, so jump on in. And I'll talk to you later.